that we don't need the words. We can move energy with a brush, with a gesture, and we can download what we want to.
Hello and welcome to Holistic Circle podcast, Spiritual Conversation. My name is Philipp Kobald. We are reaching out to people who are passionate about spreading light, love, and joy. And I'm happy to have here Corry MacDonald from Brussels. Hello, Corry.
There. So good to be here, Philip.
And you don't know it, this is the first introduction this year I got through without a mistake.
Wow, I brought the luck.
Yeah,
I brought the luck.
I really thought someone cursed me.
I
And,
think it's like, what is it? You've done how many now that you created a bumpy neural pathway. So we just cropped open a smooth one.
I cannot believe it. I came through without a mistake.
Hey, but
Anyway,
I came with an easy name, right? McDonald. That's a nice name.
it's a mean thing to say, but I take it.
You're doing
All right.
great.
Okay. Well, good. I guess it's the Belgian chocolate that motivated me.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And you insisted on that you're originally from the Rocky Mountains in Canada, which of course is a strong, strong energy place to be from in the first place.
Yeah, isn't that true? I had no idea when I was growing up, but yeah, just before we started recording, you mentioned angels. When I meet people who have a deep connection with the angelic, remind me that this beautiful turquoise, beautiful lake is the base, earthly base of Archangel Michael, apparently. And I'm celebrating that because there's a lot of times I felt protected in my life. So perhaps I caught some of that blue energy.
Really, your raw energy, your creative energy is connected to your birthplace. That's for certain. I can say.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. We like to start the podcast with inviting my guests to make a small introduction, couple of minutes to what you do, what you're from, so people a little bit get to know you, and then we'll get the ball rolling.
Great. As we said, I grew up in Canada and I grew up in a family that did its beautiful job of giving enough of what doesn't work to set me on a curiosity path. At a very young age, I got out of there. Both my husband and I got married really young. When we look back at it, our kids are now the age we got married. We're 23 years old. And there was some strong impetus in us to go get out of Canada. And the first place we ended up, we were teaching English. We thought we'll learn how to teach some English, met some Japanese students. We kept showing them the Rocky Mountains and they said, come to Japan. We want to reciprocate. And that was all we needed. And that started. Now I think overseas, we've been gone almost 30 years. Now we're ended up in Brussels. So it's been a bit of tour around started in Asia, then the Middle East, and now we're here in the EU. So we wonder if maybe our next stop is home. Could be a nice extended hero's journey. But that's part of, I think, how source, universe, God, however you're going to call it, did my training here on Earth School is that I'm a hyper, you can see, I'm a very creative, attuned. I had to be hypersensitive in my house, which is how empaths get their superpowers. Is it wasn't a safe space in my childhood home. So I was hyper attuned. Okay, what's the mood? Is there anger here? Is this a happy drunk or is this a dangerous drunk? There was all these questions that I didn't realize at the time, but I was already learning. And so every move and every time we go to another country, another job, my husband works for international schools and I had training as a fine artist in art and design. With this longing to kind of learn and teach, I always had this. And two of my teachers in art school said, Corry, you'll do fine if you want to continue as an artist, but the way you talk about what you're seeing in people's art, because I would see colors, I would see aura, I would see energy in the vibration of color. And I was learning to trust it, but didn't always trust it there. But these two professors said, if you go on, you should consider a field of art therapy. And so I didn't have a lot of confidence back then. You would never have seen me on a podcast. I was not a happy girl. I was a really trudging through life trying to figure it out, hyper vigilant. I'm not safe. But every move threw me into a tailspin because structural move, it's a new country, a new system. And always I would get knocked off center and I would go look for something to bring me more home to myself. So that's every country, every move along the way. First learned art therapy, then I learned hypnotherapy, then I energy healing. Because different places where I learned something, I would then eventually say, "This is so good. If it worked for me, if I'm coming up the color vibrational scale and I'm loosening some of this density, then I want to share it." So eventually, I started offering healing sessions, workshops, these sort of things. But different countries certain modalities didn't resonate. So that would also send me looking for other tools, let's say, in the toolkit. And so now I'm here in Belgium, kind of after this big journey. I still see clients. A few have referred to me as a soul practitioner because I just attune to the soul in front of me and we just go with whatever tool is necessary in the time. And however, I'm returning to my journey as an artist right now. And this is really interesting timing to meet you, Philip, because we got talking about color and I've just returned from India and on a not a spiritual retreat, an artist's retreat. And that part of me that I kind of put on the side for all this learning, it's coming back online. And more clients are asking for healing art sessions because the color tells us so much. And there's so much in the subconscious that comes up when we're in our creative flow that we don't need the words. We can move energy with a brush, with a gesture, and we can download what we want to. So I'm returning to that part of me. So it's timely to meet with you right now and share this part of my journey.
Well, there was a lot there for a short introduction. Well, first of all, hello, fellow traveler, because
Or
I
fellow
also been
child.
I also been around in many different countries and places. So I it's interesting because I remember all of this from the introduction, but crazy enough, I did not write down any questions about it. So now I'm making it up
Great.
as we go along. Before we come to, if it's okay with you, before we come into all of that color, the healing, and the things we actually wanted to talk about, it's not often that I have someone who's been 30 years on the road, and I've been on the road a long time, and it's a quality on its own, right? To be
Yeah.
away from home, away from the original ground, but
Yeah.
connected in different, having a growth process, having an influential process. Maybe we should talk a couple of minutes how it actually is to
Yeah.
Japanese culture is very different from Belgian culture. I mean, food's different, people are different, climate's different, and what makes some adapt? What makes one? First question. There is something that's the first thing I
Yeah.
want to ask you. Do you agree with me? There are very little people who know how to travel. What would you say to that sentence?
Oh, well, that's a, oh, I've never heard that sentence. Let me chew on that for a minute. There's very little people who know how to travel. I'm just now, my consciousness is going right back to where I just was. The most recent travel, let's say, India. And I was in a group of artists from all over the world who come to this center for a month or around there. I came for 10 days. So I was just like a butterfly in and out. And I observed, I was kind of chewing on a similar question, thinking, huh, a lot of these people, this India's if you're going to travel, that's one of the most intense spots. Like I've also lived in Dubai, which was like had its own different story, but very different than India. And really observed that a lot of these people were much older than me. I mean, and I usually am the old one in the group. I'm 53 and I was like the baby. They were in their late, early to late 70s, some of them. One was 80. And I thought, wow, these people know how to travel was my first thought. But then It depends on how much safety a person has built up inside themselves. Because some of them got there, but just by the skin of their teeth, and they just moaned and groaned about all the things that India is, and they missed the point. Because when you go somewhere, you're going you're going to something completely different, and India is an immersive experience. And if you just look at the surface, oh, the roads are crazy and it's dirty and there's bugs, and you miss the color and the lineage and with the energy of India. And so I would agree with you. I would say travel is not for every soul. That there are some, I've heard it said like this: some of us are butterflies and we go to different places. And it's not like we decided. I didn't decide to be the goer in my family. It just, I had to. And it's part of, I think, whatever we're going to call it, a soul path or a contract. So there's all sorts of ways we can say it. But there was that inner pull, I'm going. And butterflies, they tend to go and then they cross pollinate. Like they, there's things from Japan that are still in me. There's things from the Rocky Mountains that are still, there's lots I left. There's things I left. And we share that with those who stay. There are some who they don't have that pull, and we need some people to just stay and ground that energy in the the place where they're from. It's not a better or a worse or, it's just the different soul contract. And those people who stay, this oh, is it Elizabeth Gilbert used this expression? She called them jackhammers. They'll like hammer down into something. We need them. Like, want a butterfly to be your pilot on the someone who dabbles here and dabbles or goes here and then. No, you want certain people to do certain jobs and certain roles in the world. And so I think, yeah, Philip, you are definitely someone who's cross pollinating with your podcast and helping to share these bits that you've experienced in all your travels and you have points with. And now you're passing it on with your butterfly wing and cross pollinating. It's a different travel for you than someone who goes on a cruise ship and just wants to have the same meal at the same place every time there's a meal.
A-
Yeah.
And to add, and most probably, if you've been in a group of artists, you have most likely, by theory, the most open minded bunch of any society to start with. So if you consider that this is already the extraordinary open
Exactly.
section of the society, uh, but I was always wondering this question a lot because I was lucky as very small to travel a lot, and also to have a teacher in a way, like a role
Mm.
model who was great in traveling. He was a person that, and everybody will now maybe say, "What is he talking about traveling? I know how to go to a train. I know how to book a flight." No, 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 my friend. Traveling is a state of mind, and it's not a physical activity.
Mm-mm.
I've seen people who haven't left their little garden in the last 20 years. I would call them world travelers, and they had not moved a meter. But
Yes.
their mind is it's a mind experience. But of course, through real physical travel, it get enhanced because you smell
Oh,
new things, you taste
beautiful.
new things, you experience new things. It's basically part of this. And I'm always sad seeing people in the tourist program booking some all-inclusive whatnot,
Mhm.
and herding in the plane and herding in
Mhm.
the thing and herding in the stuff and then being on the phone. So yes, we know it's everything's fine. The hotel room is like this and that, like, and and I don't want to show off here, but while they are doing this, sending the text messages back home, I must probably still at the front desk have a relaxed chit chat with the woman who works there or the cleaning staff
Yes.
or the manager,
Yes.
whoever's there, and just how are things going, how's life and stuff. And already, I'm, you know what I mean, right?
And it's so important what you're saying. And I think it's important you brought in the phone because this is what's maybe this is also showing my age, but we were talking about this very thing. because a lot of these artists that they can keep going to India, to Malaysia, to wherever they love because they have been traveling for a while and they understand that it's what you spoke of at the front desk. It's almost like a game. It is a game where you have a general idea, okay, I've got this booked, but without everything mapped out with the phone or following what like my daughter's telling me, we should eat at this place. Everyone's posting it on Instagram, but then there's a lineup a mile long. And I said, no, but if you dump that and just start walking, all these magical moments appear. I mean, I lost my shoes. I don't know if I lost my shoes are so huge. I'm 181 centimeters tall. Somehow, maybe someone mistook my shoes at the center. So I went out to look for shoes. Then I realized I had this real need for yellow paint. Like I just needed yellow paint palette. This I don't know what is India. I think of yellow when I get there. And so I just by chance said to the shop owner, "You're having such a fun chit chat." He was so excited to meet a woman from the snow and he wanted to hear about snow and back and forth. And then I said, "Oh, happen to know where there I could get some big paint, you know?" Wow, that sends us on a I'm with another fellow artist and we eventually found the paint, but it was meandering down these streets. And we ended up with 2 pairs of shoes, saris, like lunch. Somebody gave us lunch. They were so excited because usually no foreigners go down that back alley. And it was this adventure. And also a real reminder that none of that would have been found on Google Maps. None of that connection either. And all of that then downloads into the painting that came through me, like all that joy, all that connection. The paintings I kept doing were about connection. So I love that you mentioned this front desk thing. This is the heart of why we travel, is to find each other in a totally different culture in ways that delight and surprise us. We came here for that.
And I'm even more amazed that you added something so valuable that if we think even now that you said it now, even I remember some of the places I've been a lot in Venice and things like that. And it's
Yes.
over touristic,
Mm.
right? And fun
Yeah.
part, the last time we've been to Venice, it was still with my father. He was elderly. He couldn't walk that
Okay.
much. So we really stayed on the touristic main, it's like the
Yes.
herd. And
Yes.
fun fact, on the herd, on the path where you would not ever imagine any authenticity, any whatever.
Mm-mm.
You know what? We had a great day because we were open. We joked
Yes.
with the waiters and all of these things. And the waiter was from Albania. Never mind, there are no real Italians anymore there. But the conversation started flowing, and then some of his friends dropped by. They ended up being at our table, and it was everything but a touristic. It was an authentic Venetian experience in the
Yes.
most
In
touristic
the herd.
restaurant, in the herd, left herd, right herd, but our table was alive, you know?
Yes,
So,
and that's
and
that
as you
energy you guys brought, and also that intentionality. Your question about travel, you have a knowing, a felt sense of an authentic experience in your journeying.
And I had 1 second more, and then we went to that place where they have all the glass and the glass blowers, as touristic as can be, right? It doesn't say it cannot be worse in Venice. And of course, my father coming in, a little bit walking, and my daughter was also with us, and she came with big children eyes, and how does it work in this? And then I tried to little bit find some school knowledge, glass is melted in this. And the glassmaker listening to that and said, no, 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 you need soda. This is, come, little girl. And we gave her like half an hour glass blowing lessons out of the blue sky, which is definitely not part of the tourist experience. There are
No.
places where you can watch them make it, but this was not one of those places. You just saw a nice little girl with open eyes and nice people.
Wow.
So I'm with you. If you're open, if you're curious, if you're honest, it's very important to be honest.
Yeah.
If you bring this to the table, I'm interested in you. I
Mm,
want to listen to you, and then real traveling, real connections can happen. And I guess
that's beautiful. Well, I love.
you've been many years in the expat community, and I guess you know how it is with the ones who don't want to have anything to do with expat community and the ones who don't want to have anything to do with locals. And
Yeah, this
and
kind of divide. Yeah,
why did I bring all of this up? Because now we're starting to go deeper in the conversation. Because
yeah.
in one way, it's a great metaphor for any spiritual group, any spiritual seekers, any center, any spiritual activity uh,
Mm,
between being in for the ride and being open, curious, and part of the ride. So
mhm.
you've said that you've went to so many places and had learned something there and learned something there and learned something there. So let's talk about openness. Let's talk about finding gurus, finding
Mm,
connection, finding
yeah.
teachers, letting it happen. Let's talk about letting it happen.
That's beautiful. That's exactly it, letting it happen. And as you're sharing, I started to see moments, maybe snippets of memory files of me in different stages and ages of my development as a human, as a being, and at different stages and ages of openness. Remember, I told you I start my journey and I get the download, the main download. I'm not safe. I'm not attached to anyone. So I'm out there surviving life as you would. So I can see memory files of, yeah, the way I traveled changed as I opened, as came into deep attachment with my universal self and the universal self. As I started to learn and grow, then it's a state of allowing and expecting that things are going to happen there and I can fall back and not have to control so much. But when that safety isn't built up within, when I didn't have that safety, I was managing. I remember having those there was these guidebooks and I would have the list. And I remember my poor James, my husband would say, can we just go and walk it? So he already was there. He was fine. He had more safety built up in him. And I'm thinking, he's got to be in charge. As though little Corey showing up in a country, in a culture she doesn't even know is going to be in charge. But I love this Corey because that's as good as I could reach then. And that was as safe as I could feel then. But like I said, then I would learn or then I would integrate more of myself. Then I would fall in love with those parts and I would take care of them. I learned to parent myself. Then the travel opened up. And you're right. Then it's a state of allowing. And actually, it's not just with travel, it's with all of life, as you knowing from your podcast and your journey and all the things. And I mean, I set a structure for my day, but then there's always space for things to just show up or change, or suddenly I'll get an inner nudge. You know what? Maybe drop by the bank now, not this afternoon. So I go by the bank and there, bam, I bump into this woman who was really curious to learn more about this course of energy healing I'm teaching. These sort of things, I don't have to manhandle. Universe got the whole story. So it's just as joyous listening in and relaxing back and like your daughter saying yes when someone says, "Hey, little girl, you want to learn how to blow glass?" Like, just these sort of delightful things want to reach us. But if I'm just manhandling life, I'm not open to catch any of it. And then life feels like hell. But now I realize, oh, that's what people meant. You don't got to try to figure it out or try to be happy. You just actually, even when it's crunching and bumpy, you kind of I can stay in a state of curiosity and think, okay, there's a reason why that canceled. Maybe there's something else. Instead of reacting, going, I have to make this happen. So that really liberates with travel when a plane just doesn't take off or or
Yes.
suddenly a plan goes left instead of right, it's okay. There's something bigger in charge, and I'm just flowing on this river with it like that.
Right. Now we will come to colors, but I had to have this introduction because I cannot help it. It's my fault, but I love color therapy. I love vibrations, crystals, and I'm obsessed with color. I've told you that,
Right.
and it's nothing I can do about it. But obviously, it's the
Right.
age that but it's for me so connected with the hippie experience, right? With this color,
Mm,
with this ideas and when we talk about fellow traveler, when we talk about openness, letting things happen, and when we talk about feeling safe,
mm,
this is self being, you need to be trust yourself, you need to be safe in yourself to get this openness to
mm.
let color happen in your life. It is, and I don't know why. So my first question to you, if it works for you, the question, why people are scared color?
Oh, I love this question, Philip. Why are people scared of color? Think that first thing I see is a rainbow just going across the sky. And I remember so many times seeing cars literally pull over the side of the road and catch a wit, especially when you see a rainbow, a double rainbow. Part of my travel took me through Hawaii, and we often saw double rainbows on Kauai. It's a garden island. It's really a lot of rain. And literally seeing humans pull over and take a picture. When you have color radiating in, through, and all around you, you're visible. And if you're not feeling safe, you don't want it. Even on video calls, I see some people will come and they'll be like, hi, drinking, right? Protecting. We're animals still. We're human beings having this incredible experience. And yeah, I would say my story, my childhood story, from all the thousands of people I've worked with, it's not unique. Most of us didn't have safe built into us. Bless our ancestors, they didn't. Like, how could they give us what they didn't have? So, that basic attachment, I'm seen, I'm heard, I'm valued, I'm honored for my unique colors. If that's not downloaded into us from 0 to 7, the science shows our brain waves are in hypnosis. We're taking that as truth, even though that's just overlay. But when we start to come home to ourselves and learn and heal whatever path a person takes, then we can stand in our color and we can stand color. There's some people I remember even in workshops that I would give as color workshops that I would lay out a whole buffet table of all sorts of childlike material so that the child could play. Really basic, but lots of color. And you're right, Philip. Some people would say, oh, it's just too much. And also with black, that's also another, that black is holding all the colors. A lot of people have some problem with diving into black, the void, unknown, the soil, the generative fertile ground. But for many people, there's filter overlays about that color. There's fear, or maybe it's subconscious. Maybe it's holding so much. It's so rich with all the color field that it's too much. I've even had workshops of helping to build safety, to be safe, to trust. I can play with color. I can be with color. So, so good that question. It's not in everybody.
And you also gave actually a whole answer with this, with your answer right now, actually is a whole basically seminar in itself. Because you've said if you're scared of your own individuality, you're scared of your own color.
Yeah.
And if
Yes.
so you gave the whole purpose of color therapy, you explained us in absolute precision what's the worth and value of color therapy. It's nothing else than finding your own voice and
Mm.
finding who you are and the color that you present and getting the bravery to stand by it. So you just made a whole seminar in those couple of sentences,
Wow.
if I think you got.
Thanks for asking. I didn't even realize. And now, Philip, now I'm flashing back to when I was in art school and how at that time I was so confused about who I was. I wouldn't even paint Philip in out in the open. Like I would take my I wanted to paint big, so I would take these big canvases and I would make like a hiding space, you know? But in there, so I was doing the best I could to create safety. In there, I would explode with color. But then when it came time to show the artwork is a critique, heart racing and sweating. And so it was a process of learning. I can show myself, I can come. And then getting affirmation from classmates, colleagues, teachers saying, no, you're growing. This is something you consider going on this path. What a gift to have, like you mentioned this in travel, the right travel guides had the right time. Always. That's another thing we start to trust that enough times it happens that the right person at the right podcast at the right time, the right song, the right t-shirt with the right words on. Information starts to inform us and tell us you're safe. You're not on this alone. We're all here with you. Just receive and keep going. And after that, now I expect that. Like, I just expect that. If I'm a little bit unsure about something, I just hold back. We're eternal. There's no rush. And then there
But
will be something.
why
Yeah.
I think this is so interesting, I'm so happy to talk with you about colors because if we look again back to the hippie era, it was all about, right? Finding your voice,
Yeah.
finding your color, finding your dance, finding your move, songs, berries, all of it. And this
Yeah.
was the individual leaders of the time. And now if we look right now, who is popular, who is leading, who is bombarding the Instagram, it's all beige, right?
All
Light
beige.
beige, dark beige, great beige, ruffled
All
beige, all
beige.
beige.
I
And
can't do
so I'm
it.
asking you as a color therapist, do you think it's harmful to give babies a complete beige environment? Is that a good place for a kid to grow up in the world of beige? What would you think?
What's your first answer, Philip? What's your hunch?
I would cry. I mean, I mean, but the question is, if you would give a kid, it's a valid question. If you give a kid, let's say, a neutral environment and then say, okay, here's a lot of colors, find your color. I'm
There you
not
go.
putting you into a child room where everything is high yellow or this or
Yeah.
that. So me, a parent's deciding for you. It's a kind of kids empowerment to smear the walls the way they like. So it's a tricky question with those beige baby
Wow.
rooms in a certain way.
I love this conversation. And also this is something in the healing arts, my training. So there is a place for no color, but the invitation for a soul to use that neutrality to recognize you have a color that is burning to be played with, or maybe colors. And this is your space for that. That's a very different thing than just deciding for. And now suddenly I have a lot of gratitude for my mom because I realized when I was growing up in the 70s, it's making a comeback, wallpaper. Everyone was wallpapering rooms. I had three sisters. I was the one that was hell bent on choosing my wallpaper. Let's go, mom. And bless her, she would totally, I think she has a real affinity for color too. She has that side. So we would meet there and we would go crazy and redo my room. And it was my space. Interesting. And now I'm just realizing the last thing I did was rainbows. It's very 70s. But and so color, and that is also how I work with the healing arts. If people come into the healing space and all of my art is there, I mean, that's a lot of energy. You're listening to me. I'm a lot of energy. I have a lot of expression. I'm blue throat chakra. Here is my Carillion photo. I'm very expressive. Okay. So my soul came here to teach, to connect, to share. So I clear all the art and there's nothing on the walls because that will imprint. And it's crazy. Even sometimes people's clothing will imprint. When I've had group workshops, one time we all burst out laughing because everyone came up for after creating for a few hours and we realized that this one woman had a very strong, bright green, gorgeous shirt on with all these greens. And that day, everybody painted green. Everybody. And so our color auric field has an impact on the people around us. And so if someone's trying to find where's my color, where am I at now? It's really helpful to have a neutral um surrounding. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a
So
time and space for it. Yeah, for sure.
so you and me would kind of agree that giving kids a neutral space is not the worst if they have the right to fill it with color on their own
Yes.
mind.
Yes.
This is okay, but you would both me and you and I must probably be very wary of this little bit reactionary behavior with the beige aggression.
Yeah. To
It's a
make a
little bit,
look. Yeah.
especially also grown women or whatever, the beige houses. I think it's quite an aggressive state. Beige is aggressive, right?
Yeah. And a lot of it is fueled again we're back to the phones. Are you choosing this beige because your soul is longing for beige? Are you choosing this beige because that's what this woman who has this life that's putting out there, projecting out there? You're only catching snippet, a picture, and you want to copy that. That's sad to me. That's someone who's following. I lived in that realm for my early years. I'll just follow back to the herd, right? That's a soul that hasn't yet realized, oh my gosh, you are this unique vibration and you have your unique colors that are longing to be expressed and are safe to be expressed. So to me, that's what that's speaking to. And yeah,
And what
children,
why I'm
if you're given the freedom to create, wow, then they build that trust and safety in their colors from a very young age. My kids know exactly what they want in their bedroom, what they don't want, what they want on their body, what color it's a no go. My one son ordered a rain jacket and he said, "Oh, on the picture, it looked like it." He likes his deep blues. He's a deep thinker. He likes to dive deep, quiet. And this jacket came in this blue.
uh,
And you know what? It's my jacket now because there's no way he's going to wear that. And he shouldn't. It's not him. Yeah.
why I brought beige into the story is simply because you, as a person who has the ability to work with colors, to heal with colors, but you also to see colors, to see
Yeah.
auras and things like that. Well, then would be the next question. Did you ever saw a beige person in terms of aura?
That's a brilliant question. Never, never.
That's my point.
That's your point.
That's why I'm saying reactionary, because
Yeah.
it is a non-natural state. No one ever is beige. Beige don't exist.
And then I understand your point, that word aggressive,
Mhm,
because if beige doesn't exist and it's being put out there, that's a form of a
mhm.
control, a clamp down on the colors that are longing to be expressed. Yeah.
Yes, we
That's a
know it.
really important thing to talk
Mhm,
about. Yeah.
exactly. We only know something similar throughout the world is priests wearing black,
Mm, interesting.
but with purpose. We know it from doctors wearing white, but with purpose.
Yeah.
Both have a very specific purpose. The priest needs to shield himself from bad spirits and all of this.
Mhm.
He's going to all kind of houses. He's dealing with, if you believe in angels, yes or no.
Mhm.
So his protection, it's a protection
Yeah.
shield and also other purposes, but the black is a very helpful tool to be a priest. It makes your job more, it helps you do your business, going to houses where people are dying, giving last
Yeah.
blessings,
Yeah.
talking with people who are possessed and whatnot throughout history. Black helps. Uh,
Yes.
and we have the same thing with doctors and white, not only from practical purposes, it's also a state of mind. That's part
Mhm.
of the healing.
Mhm.
Beige,
Mm.
interesting, huh?
It's so interesting, and it's popping up everywhere. I mean, there's a new cafe just opened, and I went in once and it's this whole beige color. It's just no pull in me to go in there. Much prefer the old one with the clunky paintings on the wall and a bit of dated upholstery. So now you're giving me the information as to why, though it's all sleek and new and slick, I have no pull into there because it's neutral. It's not saying anything.
And I'm sure you also looked into art history. I'm sure you did.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so if you look at the last couple hundred years of art history, we always understand there's a certain colors or a certain time. And maybe you even looked at the repetition of color themes and that there's actually 7, 12, 28, and so forth years where colors reemerge. And I'm sure you looked into all of this as part of color healing and color teaching and history of arts. Now, what will the world say in 50 years from now when we all of a sudden have the first time ever a beige time?
Yeah,
What would it
this is a
say
big
about
question.
our time?
This is a big question. Wow.
Mhm.
I never sat with this question. And this is quite interesting because this is a time where everything is shaking and changing in ways that, yeah, we haven't seen before. So I now I see back to that control. Remember when I talked about when I would travel like this? So that's to the micro to the macro I'm sensing. Hmm? Just as one person will do some tactic to feel the to create a false sense of control, you will see things in society happen to clamp down. And
So
color is a
from
big energy. Color is vibration. Color is our life force energy.
for me, this is the era of denial. Beige is denial. Not wanting to be you, not wanting to be part of anything. The This is denial. And
Mm,
that's why it's so because you see aura, we now will talk about auras and aura and healing, we will move away from it. But that's why I so much wanted to talk with you because if there would be a beige state, it would be okay. But the fact that it's not shows that you are
yes.
basically in self denial. That's how
Yes.
you display.
And when you think about that, so this is so interesting, this word, even the word beige. So living the life we did through all the different homes we went to. Part of the reason that I got it, I have a sense why I went so big with my painting is because there were rental homes in beige and there was a vibrational, like there was just a sadness or almost felt like, yeah, checking out of life, like non participating. The house hasn't fully been activated yet without at least a warm yellow on the wall, a bit of buttery yellow in there, something to feel we're always looking for back to safety. Where was our first save point? The womb. So there is a lot of color in there. And so by stepping into a beige house, I was constantly just painting bigger and bigger to fill spaces. And then I could feel I'd set up the nest. I felt at home. So it's interesting when I think back on my journey as an artist, like beige kind of this thing that is really not in the color field actually was my catalyst for pushing me to go more colorful. But sadly, if you're caught in the beige, yeah, it's the absolute opposite of that. The non expression, the conforming, the stepping out of. It doesn't feel like a fullness can even come out of there because there is, it's not even void. At least black provides a contrast. There's something there to push and pull.
And
Interesting.
you told me so beautifully when you were living in the desert that you maybe the desert, yes, but you were excited about the stars, the night sky, and
Yeah.
insanity of the desert. Even the desert is not beige.
No. Oh my gosh. The colors and the sands and the dunes and some incredible, and the liquid, not just a black, it would be that midnight blue sky and desert storms and there's this siennas and umbers and there's so much life force, even in something that you're right. When I first got to the Middle East, I thought, how will I live without a tree? I mean, I'm so connected to forest, but there was such beauty. So Mother Nature does not ever disappoint with her palette. And yeah, there isn't a beige in the desert. No.
Now that we've really, let's spend the last little bit moments we have, the last 15 minutes of this podcast, and talk about your new work, the upcoming work, the work that is now preparing, healing with colors, bring all of the things that you've done so far together into a one. Because as you said, you're really one step away of all of these loose threads, weave them together. Will it be you as a artist that creates pictures that heal you once you just watch them, like mandala things? Will it be you as a person presenting them colors? I can almost see people calling you with a disease and you paint something and give it to them. Watch every day 15 minutes and spirits will heal. Where are we going? Where are we, not you or we, where are
Yeah.
we
Where are
going
we going?
collectively?
What a great question. I'm sitting in that question right now in curiosity because something got activated in me in India and I can't stop going to my colors since I come home. So it's become open again. That neural pathway is wide open. But I'm holding that same question. And because I'm also so much healer energy, much communicator energy, I'm very curious about that. About so much of my art, people will say, oh my gosh, I just sit by your painting and I start meditating. So I do go into a trance state, all channeling through this art. It's not something I plan or it's very intuitive and felt. And so that is something that so interesting you ask, because just yesterday morning on a walk, I was thinking that perhaps this is merging of my creating and healing and creating channeled pieces to support people in their journey.
You,
I'm really curious about that you mentioned the very thing that went through my consciousness yesterday.
you know what I would really see to happen soon is somebody selling a piece of canvas and said, this is against high blood pressure. I'd love that.
Oh, yes.
I mean, of course, you must legally write it, ask a lawyer, this may la 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 la
Yeah.
la. But why are we not moving on and sacred symbols, sacred colors, but
Yes.
artistically expressed? This is my art. My art heals. It's healing art.
Healing
This is
art.
for heart. This is for safety. This is for this. This is all kind of conditions. This is my artistic reflection. Watch it and heal. Why are we not going there?
Well, why not?
I'm asking you.
And so I'm answering maybe your daughter. Now I'm running in and I'm going to start creating. She did the glass. Maybe you've just given me the spark. Thank you. Um, and actually, I hear myself saying it all the time to clients because I do love how science now is giving a language to what the ancients and the mystics always knew was that all of these things in our health, it's it's all roots back to that safety. Because if our body and our physiology feels safe, everything functions and flows. Our brain waves can move into low beta, like some alpha creative, even theta creative states. Our hormones are in rest, digest. So there's no stomach problems and sleep problems. And our blood, it's a totally different makeup. So I'm often giving the neuroscience or the physiology or looking at my metaphysical anatomy with clients to say, what were the emotional issues underneath this hypothyroid? What were the emotional or what were the feeling states? What was happening in your ancestral line around this cancer? So the information is there as information in a science book. But now you're just reminding me that, like, when I'm reading these things or even sitting with the clients, you're right, I'm catching color. Perhaps you've just given me the permission, like this beautiful guy in Venice gave your daughter permission to just now create. Let's create this. So thank you. I thought I was coming on a podcast to chat to you about color, and I've been asking life, so where do I go with all this? And I was so excited to talk today because I know we were going to just play around this theme. But this is so important. This happened right here on your podcast. So, this is how life guides us. This is how we play on that river. Like we were saying with travel and with guidance and with receiving, I've been posing this question out, meditating and just staying in curiosity. And this is kind of like that you've just been like the guy in India who said, "Oh, you want to buy yellow? Go down there." Now you've pointed me on a very interesting direction, Philip, and I'm so curious to follow it up. Very
Yeah.
curious.
You know why I think about all of this a lot? Because imagine a gallery, museum, whatever, any space, and there's written, let's say, whatever, childhood trauma
Yeah.
or whatever troubles people.
Yeah.
And then you go through, maybe it's you, maybe it's a collective, different artists. You go through the artist mind, the spiritual artist mind, the healer artist mind, the clairvoyant artist mind
Yeah.
of their interpretation, what would resonate and heal. And people just can go like a spiritual pathway, like a journey through this art. And art is not absolute, but it's a door. And
Yes.
they can they maybe start crying, or if they're open for it, or maybe feel hugged or provoked.
Yes.
But we need to bring arts to the next level. That is one of the
Wow.
things. And integrating it with spiritual healing might be one of the things where art can get a next step of purpose and meaning, and can find the next step. And art needs to move on. So
Mm,
that's
mm,
that's why I felt strong for this idea, uh, that just one of the ideas that maybe art can move on, and that
brilliant.
was it.
Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you for expressing that idea to me because I can feel this really strong force longing to create, but not just to create more stuff. We got a lot of stuff on our planet or more, it's it's all that intention is. And interesting you speak this because just nothing is by chance, but shortly after meeting you and we started to talk about color and how special to talk, we were both thinking about color. I had an artist from France reach out to me who has been also receiving reams of information for years and has incredible art that when I looked at it, I was doing just this. I could feel parts of me coming alive, part tears with some. And I was thinking, so why did him and I come together just now? And now I think about that, how important it would be for a collective of artists because everyone is different vibration. So what I'm putting out might resonate with one soul, but his art might resonate with how gorgeous to have a collection and have a theme to that. The healing arts is the point. It's we no longer see people not as much going into churches or to places like this. So this is also sanctuary, a healing sanctuary that is, I think, really needed on our planet right now. I've been toying with that, keep drawing this space, thinking, oh, and I love the word space. Like there's a friend of mine talked about it. If you pull S apart from pace, you get a space, create sense of pace. You slow down your pace and you feel. How do we feel? We feel really well with the arts. They speak beyond the logic and they go to the heart. So I really value you, Philip, and I value how you can sense and feel and see. a need, but also see a pathway to fulfilling it. And thank you for expressing that because it's really relevant to me. It's on my
It's
journey.
it's all your inspiration. I'm just bouncing it back. Thank you. Thank you so very much for this conversation. I hope
Yeah.
we people sitting now on the podcast and said, I must have more color in my life.
Yes.
Go for it.
Go for it. Take out your crayons and just play, and not to make a Picasso with it, just to move, find out your colors. Yeah, exactly. Thanks for this conversation.
Thank you so very much. I hope to see you again. Thank you.